It is August 22, 2019. I'm at it again, and I will be for weeks to come. There's the cat. I better be careful with my sigh. Sweetie, this is not a safe place for you. Not even a safe place for my sigh. I'm finding big rocks all over the place, and I pick them as I go along just for future reference, so that maybe I can even get some motorized equipment in here. It's just astounding to see how little eating is in this paddock. It's literally just ragweed, thistles and burdock, and absolutely nothing edible in here. Ouch. Stones are not edible. Hi, sweetie. I'm glad you like it here, Angel. Want to help me pick stones? Ooh, big one. The other thing that is astounding is that as soon as the weeds are gone, there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. Oh, hello. Hey, you have to be careful, sweetie. I'm trying to get as many stones out as I possibly can, because if I don't find them, the Sai will find them, and that will dull the blade. Jeff renamed Scarface Slash, as a reference still to that kind of white slash scar on his face. I'm very happy that we brought him here, and he seems to have settled in nicely. Originally we were gonna leave him at our previous farm, ouch. There's absolutely nothing edible growing in this paddock. And these weeds didn't establish overnight. It took years for these weeds to take over. Sometimes I get a little disheartened when I look at the sheer volume of what I still have to do. But when I just stay in the moment and do what I can, every day a little bit, man, this is a particularly dense little patch. Oh my God. All ragweed going to seed. My first pass can't be too deep because then I hit a rock for sure because they're everywhere. So I first cut off something a little higher, and then I can see the rocks, and then I pick the rocks, and then I go back in. Pretty labor intensive, I can tell you. And all of this labor intensive back-breaking work is a result or a consequence of not thinking things through when this was set up, and also not setting up properly, because as part of fencing this in and spending all this money on this fencing, the picking of stones and making sure this paddock, which is now a paddock once you put in the fencing, is accessible and can be maintained by running a bush hog in here once in a while, which you can't do if you just leave all the rocks. So whoever put in this fencing, and I'm sure they didn't put in the fencing when the ragweed was this tall, never bothered to actually look around and say, okay, what else needs to happen here in order for this paddock to work and this paddock to be functional and easy to maintain, so that it can actually not only house animals but sustain animals, which it cannot now, obviously. And that's why there was all this hay fed out. But hay is also expensive, and hay needs time and big machinery and storage space, fossil fuels. Hay is expensive. And why do you want to feed out hay when you have all this land that could sustain your animals? Your land, your valuable land, your valuable Caledon land is horrendously underperforming because of bad maintenance, bad management, and just thoughtless layout. And it can be better. There's room for improvement. This guy is technically growing on your side of the fence, but I'm going to take it anyway because its feet are leaning in to my side of the fence. Man, that's not a small plant. It's no longer a small little issue. Gosh, it's getting warm already. Buggy out, but oh well. I'm very eager to get the horses back on track, so I'm just gonna steam on. No matter the weather, no matter how many bugs are bugging me. The sheer density of it all is astounding. This paddock has never been looked after. It was built and then immediately let go. And this is not cheap to build. There's an enormous amount of material in here. There's an enormous amount of manpower in here. All these posts have post holes that needed to be dug. Enormous amount of fossil fuels burned. Enormous amount of nails, hardware, gates, whatever. And it was never maintained. It was built and immediately let go. Your capital investment, Mr. Shane Begay. This is just one of the smaller rocks that I'm finding in here. Nobody ever went in here with a bush hog, and if they did, they immediately at their first pass would have poached the whole thing. And then if they're smart enough, never get back in here. And it shows. This is years and years and years of neglect that creates this much of noxious weeds that have taken over this pasture completely. It's a shame, it really is. Reversing this level of neglect is gonna cost far more than what it would have cost if somebody would have just looked after it the first time. This is gonna take a heck of a lot of work to rehabilitate, to regenerate, to make even usable. Far more money, effort, fossil fuels, whatever, everything, than if this was just set up right to begin with, thought through, and then properly maintained. The cost of not doing things right the first time is always higher than doing things right the first time. I have to be very mindful when I use the scythe. Jeff is very allergic to ragweed, so he is happy that I do it. More garbage just laying around. and do some damage. It's a bit of an uphill battle, literally. What the hell is this random piece of piping doing there? I'm not just finding riverstone, I'm finding building materials in here as well. Careful, sweetie. Get out of there. Good boy. We don't want slash to be slashed. And this is also just simply trash. It's recycling or whatever it is, but left in the paddock. Why? And they're everywhere too. So this is a very big one, and it's also on a bit of a drop here. Extremely hazardous for equipment and doesn't budge.